talked about variable declarations and variable definitions in Python, and we came up with a couple of them. For example, this is what we wrote. We came up with find room numbers, and we assign a 9, and we said that explicit variable declaration is not required in Python, and how the interpreter then knows the number of bytes to reserve for a particular variable is because of the value that has been assigned. And we said if we had something like say my name or name, and then we said something like Jonathan, then the interpreter, because we already assigned Jonathan to this variable called name, so Jonathan is being kept in this space or this memory space named name, then it knows that this is keeping strings for it. So that's basically the conclusion from last time. Now, we then say that, well, if you just decided to just write name and you don't name, it will print out the name. Supposing we wanted to write names, but we do not assign a value, then we get some problem. It says that these names is not defined. Why? Because just talking about it, where Python sees these names, it basically first of all imagine that this was um, declared and assigned previously, and therefore when it's trying now, it's trying to print out the content other names and finds that names has not been defined previously. Then of course you incur this sort of an error. Now the other thing is how can we write these variable identifiers? So I'll make a comment here. Remember, we said we are going to use an octodop or a hash to make comments. So here I can say, how do we correctly, create variable names or variable identifiers? Okay. Well, now that turns out to be there are a couple of rules, 3 rules to be exact, that we need to follow in order to create variable identifiers or variable names. What are these rules? That's what I'm going to be discussing now. Right? So I'm going to create a new file in here, and I'm going to say rules for creating variables, for creating variable identifiers or variable names identifiers. And these rules, by the way, they are common also in other programming languages. For instance, the same rules would apply in a C language, in a C++ language, in Java, in C Sharp, etc., etc. So this is important, of course, to know. Rule number 1 is this: variable names can only start with a letter, either small case a to z, or uppercase A to Z, or an underscore. Okay, underscore this. All right. So rule number 1 is that variable names can only start with a letter A to Z, capital A to Z, or underscore. Can only start with that. All right. Now, rule number 2, if all variables can only start with this, what about, say we started with an A, what other things can we have? Well, now the rest of the name or identifier name, the rest of the identifier can be a letter. Again, A to Z, small letters, capital A to Z, all numbers, okay, 0 all the way to 9, 0 all the way to 9, 0 all the way to 9, or underscore, okay? So the rest of the name, identifier. So what does that mean to say? Note here, to say no other special character is allowed. Okay, no other special character is allowed in a variable name, apart from the underscore. Okay, so no other special character is allowed in variable name apart from the underscore. So that's note 1. Okay, note 2, possibly arising now from these two arising now from these two rules is that a number, we cannot start a variable name using a number. Okay, these are important things to know. Okay, now rule number 3, I said there are 3 rules. Rule number 3 is that a keyword or reserved word cannot be a variable identifier or a variable name. It cannot be a variable identifier. A keyword or a reserved word cannot be used as an identifier. So what are reserved word or keywords? Keywords are words set apart by the language, for special meaning. Okay, these are special words. For instance, you saw me using the word type, the keyword type. Using the keyword type that will tell us the data type. You saw me using keywords like ID, right, to tell me the address of the variable. You have seen us use something like print, right? Things like that. You have seen us use the words like input. Okay, so these kind of words, because they have a special meaning, we cannot use these words as variable identifiers. So if I, for instance, supposing I went back in here and I put the word input and I said input is equal to 90, what's going to happen? Okay, it's going to look at that. Okay, so if I said print and I said it's equal to 92, okay, print. Okay, see. Okay. So this object here is not callable. Let's do another one. Print. So supposing I just wrote about print, we'll get it there. I said print and I said input. Okay, again this object here is not callable. It says, okay, supposing I say def is equal to 99. Okay, again def will have a syntax error if I said type is equal to 78. Okay, then I said print this type. Okay, again it will say this is not callable. So you get some problems when you use this sort of keywords. So you can't basically use this sort of keywords. So that's important. You can't use these kind of things. All right, so that's good. Then another thing I need to mention is reserved words. What does that mean? Reserved words, these are all words set apart either as keywords, meaning that they're being used currently as keywords, or may be used later as the language develops. Well, that is to mean that keywords are a subset of reserved words. Okay, so that's an important thing to consider. So these 3 rules are important when you create your identity.